Exactly. So, what I think we should just do right now is, for everyone who is here, for everyone who cares, for everyone who's fighting, calling their congressman every day, showing up to rallies, knocking doors, talking to their friends and neighbors every day, let's just give all of ourselves a big round of applause. We're proud this evening to be joined by a highly effective local leader, Ulster County Executive Mike Hine. He's been recognized by Governing Magazine as one of the top elected officials in the country, and he's led a progressive, environmentally friendly government right here in Ulster County. I want to thank him for his support, helping make tonight's event possible. So please join me in welcoming Ulster County Executive Mike Hine.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to tell you something. Hello, how are you doing? I think that might be my mom. I will tell you this. It's extraordinary to see this many people of conscience turn out. It's extraordinary to see people in our community simply say our voices must be heard. We are in a democracy. It's extraordinary. Absolutely. You see, it's also true, by the way, that our congressman was in Kingston today. Get a chance to see him? I'm not so sure he got a chance to see you. We had a pretty small situation going on in there, kept it really tight, kept the questions on card, made sure that he didn't have to answer the tough ones. Like, how could you? Maybe repeal and replace is actually something we should be thinking about from Congress. Now, ladies and gentlemen, each and every one of you come here today with a heavy heart because we've seen what has happened in Washington, D.C. I know the truth. There are 24,000 residents that I represent right here in Ulster County who have their health care because of the ACA. The idea that that's going to be taken away is nothing short of unconscionable. Dr. Carol Smith may not be a name that you know, but she is in charge of public health for this entire county. And she said something that was terrifying to me. She said the biggest risk to public health today in Ulster County isn't cancer or diabetes or a whole host of other issues and diseases that make all of us cringe in fear. The reality is this. She said the biggest threat to public health is the repeal of the ACA and what I have seen being brought forward in Washington. The biggest threat to public health. Now, we all know the truth, don't we? The truth is this. If you're rich, it's a great tax break. But how do you sleep at night? If you're poor, by the way, you're talking about nothing short of a potential death sentence. Again, how could you? It keeps coming back to a question I can't get out of my mind. How could you? Because that's the kind of question my grandmother or your grandmother would have asked. When did being a woman become part of a pre-existing condition? You're damn right. You're damn right. We're not going to tolerate it. We don't have to tolerate it. And you know what? If it takes an adopted district program where we have to get a responsible congressman from someplace else to stand in and answer the questions, then that's exactly what the heck we're going to do right here in this community. Ladies and gentlemen, simply put, what you are doing here tonight is meaningful for a whole host of reasons. Not only are you having your voice heard just like our democracy was designed to do, but I think you're building a model. That adopted district program, I hope, sweeps across this nation. And again, a thank you to each and every one of you, the people of conscience of this community, the people who have simply said this is unacceptable, I will not stand idly by, I will not watch my friends, my neighbors, and everyone lose access to health care that is the difference between life and death. We've come so far, we do not and will not and cannot allow it to be taken away. Now, when we talk about this adopted district program, I kind of like that, by the way. That's nice. What you need to be able to do that is an extraordinary partner, a great leader, an individual who's committed to stepping forward and simply saying, I can't take it either. The people of every part of our country need to hear the truth. And so we are blessed to have a wonderful partner, a wonderful friend, and an incredible and an extraordinary adopted congressman at this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Sean Patrick Maloney, my dear friend.
Kingston! Thank you! That's right. Hello! Hey, listen, I have a question for you. I'm Representative Sean Patrick Maloney. Where the heck is your congressman? Let's because I want to go back to the... Thank you, I love you too. I want to go back to the basics here. I'm a member of the United States Congress. This is a town hall meeting. Some people do this all the time. In fact, I've done 10 of these, just like this, no holds barred, public, ask anything you want, town hall meetings, 10 of them in the last 3 months. And as of tonight, with 10 of them in the 18th district, my own, as of tonight, I have now done more open, no holds barred, public town hall meetings in New York 19 than John Faso has. Something is wrong with that. Something is wrong with that. Now listen, I have to acknowledge a couple of people. My husband, Randy Florkey, is here tonight. Say hi to him. Randy said to me when I told him about this, he said, "We've adopted 3 kids. Do you really want to adopt a congressional district, dude?" I think we got enough on our plate. But I want to tell you how this goes. Randy is wonderful, by the way. It is not easy being the spouse of a member of Congress. Thank you very much. I love you, honey. Thank you very much. Yeah. And we have so many other friends here. I want to thank Mike Hine, your great county executive. I want to make sure I thank Beth Soto, all the people from Labor, Dustin Reedy, Indivisible, New York 19 Votes. I know you're all out here, a lot of you for the first time. And I am so excited by this. I am so energized by this. Give yourselves a round of applause. Look at all these people. This is fantastic. And you know, I want to tell you how all this got started. So like a lot of you, I've been watching what's been going on, right? And I don't know about you, but I felt like I got the wind knocked out of me on November 8th, right? It was rough. You remember. It was rough. And I was walking around, I will admit it, I had my head down, like a lot of you. I was trying to make sense of it. And there were a few weeks there where, I will admit it, I was not my usual optimistic self. But I'll tell you what, I sat there on January 20th and watched Donald Trump get inaugurated. That was a tough day. Yep. But the very next day, I watched millions of people get in the street, say we're not going to sit down, we're not going to be quiet, we're going to resist, we're going to have a view about this. And I've been feeling better every day since. How about you? And I have watched, I'll tell you what, I have watched thousands of people just like you, come out and get involved in ways they have never done before. How many of you have never been involved in politics before? Show your hands. Look at all that, right? Yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Please keep coming here. And I have seen it. We have held all these town hall meetings, and there will be 400, 500, 600 people who show up. They'll want to talk for 2 hours. We'll go down the road 5 miles. Another 500, 600 people will show up. We'll do it the next day, 2 in a day, just a few miles apart. 4 a weekend with thousands of ordinary people asking questions about what's going on with their country. You know what we call that? Democracy. That's what we call that. And people like me work for people like you. You're the boss. You pay the bills. You hire me. You can fire me. I'm not doing you a favor by answering your questions if I represent you. It's my job. And so, when I heard about these guys not doing town hall meetings, it didn't sit well with me. But I'll tell you when it really became a thing. It became a thing when I watched them pass this health care bill. And we'll get into this. But 217 of them voted for this thing, including your congressman. And 14 of them are doing town hall meetings about it. 217 voted for it, 14 are doing town hall meetings. If you're going to change people's health care and you're proud of it, stand up and explain it. Answer basic questions. You can disagree with me. You don't have to agree with me. We don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I'll be the first to admit it. But I'm not afraid to stand up and say, here's how I feel. Here's how I voted. Here's why I did it. Here's why I took your voice and your vote. And I went down to Washington and I did what I did. And I think if a member of Congress won't stand up there and do that, then something is very wrong, ladies and gentlemen. And so this wasn't sitting so well with me. And then after the health care vote, I turned on Rachel Maddow one night, and I saw this extraordinary woman named Andrea Mitchell. Right? And Andrea Mitchell found her way to your congressman out in the street, and she came with a very serious question about her own health. And she asked for a promise, and she is here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and she is going to share her story with you, but before I ask her to come up, I want her to tell her own story because it's her story, not mine, and she's going to do a better job than I can. By the way, we need more people telling their stories. We need more people telling their stories. Don't wait for people like me. Don't wait for people like me. Don't wait for your leaders. The people need to do this. This is everybody. And when one person stands up, like Andrea, and says, here's what's going on with me, and you need to promise me that you are paying attention to this and that you care about this, and a political leader says, you got it, I promise you, well, I'll tell you what. If then they go back on their word, if they break that promise and do what happened on Thursday, and then won't stand up and explain it, and then goes in hiding. I mean, this guy should not be on some milk carton. He's your congressman, right? He should be here. Don't take this the wrong way. I have my own district. I shouldn't be here. I love you all. I will wave to you as I drive by to my district. But I'll tell you what. I went on Rachel Maddow the next night. Yeah. And I said, you know, I heard Andrea say something that really struck me, and maybe it struck some of you who saw her. She said, you know, when he voted for this health care bill, I just felt really naive because I thought, you know, he had promised me. And I said, you know, you're not naive, Andrea, because I believed him too. And it's not wrong for somebody who's hurting and scared to believe a political leader when they promise him something. That ought to be the norm, not the exception. We should not be so cynical in this country that we expect people are lying to us. So I wanted to tell her that if this guy won't stand here and talk about this health care bill, well, then I'm going to do it. So here I am. And it's a little unusual. It's a little unusual. It's making a few people nervous in a coroner's power. But I'll tell you what happened. I said on Rachel Maddow, this is just Friday, I said on Rachel Maddow, you know, I'm going to adopt that district. You guys mind if I adopt you? And if at any time the current congressman wants to come here and do his job, well, I will pack up and I will leave. How about that? I mean, if he walks in here right now, I will hand him this microphone and I will go home. But that's how it should be. But until he is going to answer these questions, I'm going to be here answering these questions, and he may not like those answers. Right? So let him show up. Let him stand on his own 2 feet and explain his vote to you. Let him stand on his own 2 feet and explain that vote. Is that too much to ask? No. Right? No. Now, I understand that Congressman Faso has a fundraiser tonight.
And the Mercer.
I mean, look it. I mean, you gotta raise money in politics, and we all do it, and I don't want to get on my high horse, but I will tell you what. If I had, what we got in here, 500-600 people? If I had 500 or 600 people at a meeting who wanted to talk to me, I would not say, sorry, I have to go to Albany outside my district and raise money instead of talking to you. I mean, what have we come to? And he may be upset that I'm in his district, but I will just point out that he is not. That he is... I mean, they say nature abhors a vacuum, right? I mean, if you're going to leave, someone's going to fill it, right? And so I had this idea that I will adopt a district. And then I said, well, you know, maybe it would be great. Let's just imagine for a minute. If in every district in this country where a member of Congress voted for this terrible health care bill, they won't hold a town hall meeting. What if somebody else adopted that district? Might be a Democrat. And went in and did what we're doing tonight. What do you think? We can adopt a district everywhere. From California to Maine to Florida to Washington State. Adopt a district. Right? I think it makes sense. Why are these guys getting a free pass? And I don't mind going into red states, and I don't mind going into conservative districts. I don't mind that at all. I represent a district that voted for Donald Trump. Out of 200 Democrats in the House, there are 12 of us who represent districts that voted for Donald Trump. So if you think I'm just here as some, progressive standing up, whipping up the crowd, I represent a Donald Trump district. My district is 60% rural. It is 25% military families. It's a conservative place for the most part, and that's fine by me. You know why? Because it means I got to be on my toes. It means I got to be responsive. I got to listen to everybody. What comes out of my mouth better make sense, or somebody's going to say, we're going to swap you out and find somebody else. It is a competitive seat. It isn't one of these gerrymandered districts where everybody always knows the outcome. We compete in my district. You deserve that in every district in America. And that's what ought to happen with adopting a district. That's what would happen. I don't mind that. I mean, I get yelled at all the time, right? I mean, that's okay, right? It can't be that you don't do town hall meetings just because somebody's going to disagree with you. I mean, if you can't yell at your congressman, who can you yell at, right? It's America, right? You're paying the bills. You should come with me to the supermarket trying to buy milk and eggs for the kids. I can stop 4 or 5 times. You know what? That comes with the territory. Nobody made me do this. Nobody made John Faso do this. This is why we get paid the big bucks and get all the perks and everything else, right? Is that we have to be accountable to you. So let me tell you about this health care bill, and I want to do that, and I want to take your questions actually more than anything. But there are some other people who I wanted to share the stage with, so it's not just me doing all the talking. You may have noticed we have 2 stools here. One is for me. This one is for John Faso in case he shows up. You want to have some fun? Let's have some fun. Everybody got a cell phone with them? Everybody got Twitter? All right, we're going to take 1 minute. We're going to take 1 minute, and we're going to do a little community action here. This is called grassroots organizing. Everybody take out your phones. Everybody take out your phones. It's going to take a minute, but this is going to make sense. You ready? You don't have to talk when you take out your phones. Don't make me come back there. All right, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go on Twitter, and you're going to tweet it at John Faso NY. At, ampersand, John Faso NY. And you're going to say, missing you in Kingston, how's the fundraiser? Do it right now, all of you. Every one of you. What if we send 500 tweets up to Albany tonight? What do you think? At John Faso NY, missing you in Kingston, how's the fundraiser? Yeah, I'm using his political one, so the lawyers don't jump on me. I know what I'm doing. I usually work alone here, man, but no, I'm just kidding. At John Faso NY, JOHN FASO NY, missing you in Kingston, how's the fundraiser? Hashtag Adopt a District. I mean it. Hashtag Adopt a District. I want that trending by tomorrow. Can we get that trending? Hashtag Adopt a District. I'm telling you what, we're going to get something going here.
It's already happening in Arizona.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, sir. My colleague Ruben Gallego has said in Arizona he's going to go into the neighboring Republican district and adopt that district. You're right. You know what else? That's new. You know what else? Seth Moulton in Massachusetts has said he will adopt a district. We're just getting started. I think we are going to do something here. And you people will be able to say you were at the very first Adopt a District event in the United States of America. Right now. Starting right here. Starting in Kingston, in New York 19. All right, listen, while you're lighting up John Faso's Twitter feed, missing you in Kingston, how's the fundraiser? I want to call up a very special woman. So I made mention of her before. She really is the inspiration for Adopt a District. She's the reason I'm here. And I know, look, she doesn't do this for a living. She's already been pretty public. So I really want to acknowledge her for having the guts to stand up. And I said this to her before, but I'm going to embarrass you in public. Andrea Mitchell has already changed the healthcare debate in America. And so, come up here. Come on up here. Come on up here. And this person... Right? I want her to tell you her story. Yes. You guys are the best. Thank you very much. Listen, think about how great our country is when one person, just one person, can stand up to a powerful person and tell a story and do all of this. I give you Andrea Mitchell.
Congressman, you're a super tough act to follow, obviously. Not at all intimidating. I don't even know how to speak in the mic. I never do this. And also, microphones are really heavy. So, my name is Andrea Mitchell. And back in February, I went to a rally in Kinderhook, New York, outside of Congressman Fasso's office. Fasso didn't show up. And so we had a marching band and a bunch of people, and we walked down the street to his house. We were really respectful, and we stayed on the sidewalk, and John Fasso showed up against all odds, because if you were there, it took a long time for him to get there, and people were losing faith that he was coming. And he showed up. And he invited us onto his lawn, and he talked to us, and he answered our questions in a really wonderful and gracious way. And I'm sorry if that gets slack, but that's what it was. He listened to us, and he answered our questions. And at the end of that, John Fasso said, "All right, I'm going to take one more question." And I've never spoken at a rally. And I most certainly never talk about my health in public. But it just felt like the moment to step forward. And so I told John Fasso about my health. I was born with a number of birth defects. Let's call them quirks. I have an intestinal defect. And my uterus is misshaped. And I'm missing my fallopian tubes. And I have a benign brain tumor. And I have a syrinx in my spine. And I have lesions on my brain. And I'm also a mother of two. And I told John Fasso that it's one thing to stand in front of a group of people and say, "I promise you this little tiny piece of the ACA." But it's actually not enough. Saying that pre-existing conditions will be covered isn't enough, because access is not the same thing as affordability. I have had 3 small strokes. My one hand cannot support the weight of this microphone. This must be where Congress biceps come from. I'm not really sure. I had a heart attack. I was in a coma for 9 days once that I'm surprised my mother survived. And the burden of the bills to keep someone that you love alive is not something that any family in America, or anywhere in the world, but especially in America, should ever have to deal with. that day, John Faso looked at me and he said that he promised that he would take care of us. He hugged me and he promised that he would take care of us. And this promise has been everywhere. This promise is undeniable because this promise encounters John Faso wherever he goes. It is everywhere. Yeah, unfortunately, John Faso was less than sincere in this promise. And so I apologize. It's who I am as a person, and you are just going to have to deal with the fact that I do not. I will say that he was less than sincere. And unfortunately, and here we are. He broke that promise. Everyone heard that promise, and here we are fighting for health care, hoping that the Senate will listen to us and protect health care in this country. And I think that's all I have to say.
Amazing. That just restores my faith in democracy. Andrea, you are amazing. You are an amazing person, and it doesn't take. It is not easy to do what she just did. So thank you for sharing your story. I think, well, I'm pretty good at this, and I know that there's going to be a big price to pay for what he said to you and what he did. And that is the reason, honestly, he should be here telling you, here's what I said to you, here's what you expected from me, here's what I did, and here's why I did it. And if he can't do that, something's very wrong. And the good news is, there are a lot of people who can be in Congress, ladies and gentlemen. Not any one of us has a lifetime guarantee. That's up to you. But I don't want to make it about politics. I want to make it about people. And we have a couple more people, if you're okay with that, and then I promise we'll get to your questions. You all right? You guys doing all right? How's Adopted District going? Are we having a good time? All right, look, I want to call them all up so we can do them all at once. How about that? And just a few people. We've got Sarah Couch here from the Health Education Project. We've got Ashley Cassell and Annie Gundek from Planned Parenthood. I see a lot of Planned Parenthood people out here. And we have, come on up, where are you? Come on up if you hear your name. And Elizabetta Berghold, who is an indivisible leader right here in Dutchess County. Yeah, come on up. How you doing? All right, let's go first.
Thank you. My name's Ashley. This is Annie. We're with Planned Parenthood Mid-Hudson Valley. Are there any Planned Parenthood supporters in here? Thank you. I asked, are there any Planned Parenthood supporters in this room? Let's hear it. Thank you all for being here. Just a quick question. Did anyone happen to see, did Congressman Faso walk in yet? No. He didn't. He doesn't want to talk to his constituents about the fact that he just voted last week to defund Planned Parenthood. Are we okay with that? No. We're so thankful that we have Representative Sean Patrick Maloney. You are a champion of women's rights, of reproductive health. Sean Patrick Maloney has stood behind Planned Parenthood forever, and we're so appreciative that we have someone who will listen to us. You know, we saw Congressman Faso today in Kingston. We've been in Kingston all day today. We saw him outside the Kingston Library, and we walked him to the door, and we walked him to his car afterwards. He was only talking to a select few seniors inside, so we couldn't get in, most of us, but we did walk him to the door and walk him to his car, and you know what we asked him? We asked him, why did you vote to defund Planned Parenthood?
What did he say?
I'll get there. We also asked him, do you know that in your district alone, in the 19th district, 8,000 people rely on Planned Parenthood for reproductive health care and would have nowhere else to go without us? And we asked him, how can you say you support Planned Parenthood and then vote for the AHCA to defund us? And you know what he said?
What he said?
He said nothing. You're right. He didn't even look at me. He walked straight to his car and he got in to go to his fundraiser. Are we okay with that? No! So folks, please keep standing with Planned Parenthood. Keep pressuring your representatives. Keep thanking the good ones and stay on the bad ones. Folks, we need to keep the pressure on. Thank you for standing with Planned Parenthood. Thank you all for being here.
I'm Elisabetta Burkhold. I'm with Indivisible, The Fight Is On. And we help coordinate 17 Indivisible group in Dutchess County. And I'm here because I believe that healthcare is a right. And the government has helped, since it's helping with education and with our security, also should provide help and healthcare to all of us. So, and I don't know what our representative is, if he believes that healthcare is right. I know that Trump this morning or did not want to answer it, but I don't know where he stands, and I think he is hashtag
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Couch. Today, I am here as a cancer survivor. Every living generation of my family is going to be affected by this bill. I have a pre-existing condition. My father is a small business owner who gets his insurance through the ACA Medicaid expansion. My grandmother, who is currently fighting cancer, is in a nursing home fighting for her life, and the only way my family can afford to be there or support her is through the Medicaid expansion. So this bill affects every living generation in my family. And I want John Faso to be held accountable for what he is doing. My family's story is just one in millions across this country. You know, he's not representing me. He's not representing my neighbors, my coworkers, everyone in this room. He's only representing the wealthy and the corporations. And I'm here because I'm not going to stand for it. Thank you.
All right. Well done. Thank you all very much. Give them a round of applause. All right. So we're going to take your questions now. I'll tell you what. There's just two things I want to tell you before we do that. One, how many of you are involved in Indivisible right now? See a show of hands. That's amazing. That's amazing. I love Indivisible. I love Indivisible. Almost as much as I love Planned Parenthood. Can you hear me? Is this working? All right. So, but I need to ask you to do something. Can you be better than the Tea Party? Yeah! Be better than the Tea Party. This has to be about building something, not just tearing it down, right? And I want us to exhibit in our interactions with everybody the kind of dignity and strength and resolve and grace that Andrea Mitchell showed you here tonight. And can we do that? And so, let's remember how change happens in America, right? These Tea Party guys had a pretty good run, right? We know. And they did impact politics, I'll give them that. But it became their whole mission in life to tear down Barack Obama, right? To tear down an American president. I believe we don't have a presidency to waste in America. I don't just want you to tear one down. I want you to build something up. Can we do that? And so I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you on criticizing this administration, and I'll talk about the health care bill and John Fasso's vote. That's why I'm here tonight. But I do believe that those of us who are trying to bring real change have a special responsibility to speak from our hearts about what we would do and what we can do together with everybody in our communities. Not just the Democrats, but the Republicans too, and the Independents and the Green Party people. We should come together around some shared values in this country. And so I want Indivisible to be a part of something new and something better. Not just one more negative thing in American politics. So that's my first ask of you. And my second one is, I love that Michelle Obama expression, when they go low, we go high. And all of us fall victim sometimes to just, our impulses where we get angry and we get mad. I get it. I do it too. But I think when you listen to somebody like Andrea, when you listen to somebody like those young women who just came up here, when you interact with Congressman Faso, show the same kind of dignity. Be strong. Speak your mind. Hold him accountable. Expect real answers. Wait until he's doing a town hall meeting. Don't ever go home until he's doing real town hall meetings like this. But when you encounter him, be respectful. Don't attack him personally. You don't have to go to his house. You don't have to crowd on his kids or anything like that at all. Can you do that for me? Let's do this the right way. Let's do this the right way. I don't want somebody saying that Sean Maloney got them all whipped up, or I don't want somebody criticizing you because one person does something over the top. You with me? This is all right. Good. This is bigger than that. So let's take your questions. I can tell you, somebody's going to be in charge of this. I didn't even give you the rundown on the health bill, but you all know it, right? 24 million people are going to lose insurance under this crazy thing. There are 65,000 people in this congressional district, New York 19, that are going to lose health coverage under the Medicaid expansion. Somebody's grandmother, somebody's brother, somebody's wife. There are 290,000 people in this district, this congressional district, that are going to have their employer-sponsored health care threatened. Because one of the things you may not have heard about is that pre-existing conditions can be waived now, that coverage can be waived now by a state. And you might think to yourself, oh, but we're in New York, we'll be all right. No, and the reason is because if any state waives the requirement that insurers cover pre-existing conditions, then employers in other states who don't even do business in that state can buy insurance in that waiver state for their employees, and they can race down to the bottom, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of coverage for pre-existing conditions. Don't let anybody tell you that's not in this bill. And when you look at what they're going to do, they're going to take $880 billion out of the Medicaid program. So anybody who's got a kid on the autism spectrum, anybody who's caring for an elderly parent, anybody who is worried about their child who's got a disability, this is where the rubber meets the road. And they're going to take another $200 billion out of the Medicare program. That's $1 trillion with a T over the next 10 years out of Medicare and Medicaid. And it would be one thing if they came to you and said, this is about balancing our budget and we're all going to sacrifice. But that's not what they're doing. They are doing this to give $680 billion in tax cuts to the very rich. That is wrong. There's no other word for it. So we are literally in this Republican monstrosity, taking from the sick and vulnerable and giving it to the richest and most powerful. It is the largest wealth transfer that has ever been passed in Congress in modern times. It is dead wrong, and we need to tell everybody we know what's going on. Will you do that for me? And there's more. There's so much more. There's so much more, but I want to do it. I want to get to your questions, so we'll do it in the questions if that's all right. But I can go on all night about this. I did a press conference on this today, and after about 15 minutes of me going on about this bill, I said, "Ask me what I really think," because I have to tell you, I've only been in Congress 4 years, but it's the worst thing I've ever seen. This is not business as usual. This is not just one more bill, and don't take any comfort in the fact that people on TV are saying, "Oh, the United States Senate is going to fix it." They have rammed this thing through on reconciliation. You know what that is. That means they don't need 60 votes in the Senate, and they've got 52. So they only have to keep 50 of 52 of their members, and they will pass this in the United States Senate. Or they'll pass something really bad just like it. And Donald Trump will sign anything. So this is the moment. This is the fight. It's got to be right now. And I got to tell you, you being here tonight is so important. Because the one thing that is going to save us in the United States Senate is if the Republicans who voted for this thing, this dumpster fire, the Republicans who voted for this in the House of Representatives, if they get the message loud and clear that their people are upset about it. That's what you're doing here tonight. And those senators will pay attention to that. They will see that John Faso couldn't answer basic questions and had to go into hiding rather than do a town hall meeting in his district. And that'll slow him down. You can win this fight. Don't let anybody tell you we can't win. We can win this fight, but this is the fight. This is the fight. Now. Right now. All right, let's do questions. Hold on, I think we got a system here, right? Yes. Who's in charge here? Are you in charge, ma'am?
Is this on? Yes, it is. Hi, my name is...
And I'm sorry, can I tell you, I don't know how late we are. All right, we can do about 45 minutes of questions. Is that fair? Yeah. That good? All right, good. Go ahead.
My name is Judith Garton. I'm with the Hudson Valley Strong over in Rhinebeck. And what I want to know is, with the magnitude of this bill and the effect it has on so many people, why did John Faso's party not have hearings, consult with the Democrats, consult with us, with the hospitals, with doctors?
Thank you for mentioning that. Tell me your name again.
Judith.
Judith. You want to sit? You are?
Well, if he can't answer that, I want him to go back to a civics class. How do you make a bill? I don't want my democracy taken away. This is not right.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Judith. Do you remember the Republicans getting all angry because they said Democrats didn't read the Affordable Care Act? Do you remember that? Yeah. You might remember something about that. They didn't read the bill. And it's 2,000 pages long. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This health care bill that they passed, they introduced it at 8:30 at night. It's 112 pages, and they didn't read it. They don't even know what's in it. You know how I know? Because 7 million veterans are at risk of losing their care under this bill. And even they say, oh, we didn't mean to do that. We'll fix it later. This is so sloppy and so careless because they haven't done hearings on this. They haven't worked across the aisle. They did it in the dead of the night. They tried to ram it through the first time. The Freedom Caucus said it's not bad enough. And so they, right? Remember that? Yeah. It's not bad enough. There's probably somebody else we can hurt. And so they went back and then they did it again in secret. And they cut this deal and they dropped it out. Most of their members didn't even read it. They all rallied behind it, and they all got on board except for a small number who had the guts to vote against it. John Faso just went along with the crowd, and I got to tell you, they went down to that rally at the White House. Did you see that rally at the White House? I mean, who celebrates taking away people's health care? I mean, think about that. This is not some cause for celebration. And what they're doing in the transfer of wealth from the sickest and most vulnerable to the rich, I'm sorry, that is not cause for celebration. And so I don't think they can justify it. And maybe that's one of the reasons I had to adopt this district, because your congressman isn't here, right?
do it.
Let's go.
Why? Why?
What's their answer? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Stana Weisbird, and I'm from New Paltz. I'm a SUNY Ulster nursing student, so I have a particular interest in this. Thank you. I'm changing what I do for a living midlife so I can afford to live here. And I want to change policy, and I want to help take care of my fellow human beings, and I want to know how you think I can be most effective.
Oh, well, you're wearing a Planned Parenthood t-shirt. That's a good start right there. So,
Absolutely.
Look, you're going to be a nurse? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah, listen,
I
I
am.
think that's a great way to spend a living. And guess who's against this health care bill? The nurses.
Yeah.
Guess who else is against it? The doctors. Oh, and the hospitals. And the Association of Retired People. And pretty much everybody else. So raising your voice right now is so important. And I think getting involved in holding your representatives accountable. This is democracy. People ask me this question all the time, right? People ask me, what can we do? We want to do something. And what I say is everybody's path is a little different. But some of you can run for office. Run for office. We need more people to run for office. I mean,
very well might.
And stick up for organizations like Planned Parenthood that are in the bullseye right now. They're trying to zero out funding for these guys. And in my district, Planned Parenthood supports 33,000 people with basic health care. Does that sound like improving health care?
No.
To take health care away from 33,000 struggling families? I got one guest to Donald Trump's speech to Congress. One. You know who I brought? The head of Planned Parenthood. That's who I brought. So you're doing it. You're doing it.
I will never be quiet. I will never sit down. I will never be quiet. And I am really grateful to be looking at one of my heroes, who's a midwife who I've worked with, and who's one of my teachers here. So I'm really, really grateful that I get to stand up for women and other human beings all the time, and I always will.
Great job. Who's next?
Hi, I'm Tricia Bowen from New Paltz, New York, and I have a pre-existing condition, which makes me really emotional talking about it, but
If you talk you don't have to yell, but if you talk right in, take it.
Okay.
Can you hear her? You can hear her now. Go ahead.
Hello? I have employee-sponsored health insurance and that I've been paying into for years and years. What can I expect out of this new bill?
Yeah. Well, for one thing, your employer won't be required to give health insurance. They take that requirement away. Employers will no longer have to cover their employees. You can expect that employers can weaken your coverage if they have a waiver state where they can find coverage policies that they can give to you. Now, listen, not all employers are out to get you. You know, I mean, a lot of employers do the right thing by their employees, and they should be celebrated. But the truth is, we've lived in the world where people were brutalized by a system that was just the private market. We've seen it. We've seen people with medical bankruptcies. We've seen people drop from coverage, lifetime limits, and annual caps. All that stuff comes back. And we know that because the Congressional Budget Office told us on the old bill, we don't have a CBO score on the new one. Don't get me started. But on the old bill, which is, you know, going to be about the same, we know that we are going to go back up in terms of the number of uninsured people in this country. We are at an all-time low. Do you know that? Thanks, Obama. Someone objected to me calling it Trump Care because they said, no, Obama cared. Trump doesn't care. We should call it Trump Don't Care. But the fact of the matter is we will go from about 8% uninsured where we are now, which is not low enough, but it's a big improvement, back up to 19% uninsured. There will be 58 million people uninsured in this country, more than ever before, a higher percentage than before the ACA. And we will give billions of dollars in tax cuts back to the very wealthy and back to the insurance industry, which has received millions of new customers. That's why we had an insurance tax, was because they got millions of customers. That goes away. So they're not paying for it. And all of this has nothing to do with fixing what's wrong with the Affordable Care Act. Right? And because really this is a bunch of tax cuts disguised as a health care bill. It's a bunch of tax cuts. A health care bill would lower the cost of your prescription drugs, and we would negotiate that in the Medicare program. That would be a health care bill. By the way, Donald Trump promised he would do that. Remember that? Yeah, have you heard a lot about that recently? We could do that. That would be health care policy. That's right. That's right. He said a lot of things, didn't he? Right. And so, look, I want to work with the president if he wants to lower your prescription drug prices. You know, sign me up, right? There are ways to do that. And if he wants to take the cost out of the healthcare system, because that's really what's killing us. And if we want to make these markets where there's too few insurers work better, we can do that. You know how you can do that? Public option would do that. You can do it with that. You can also let people... You could also let people buy into Medicare in some places. There are all kinds of solutions we could work on to make sure in single payer, is that what you're yelling about? There's all kinds of conversations. We could have a great conversation about health care. You know when that's going to start? The day after we beat this stupid bill. That's the day it's going to start. That's what we got to do. Who's next?
Microphone. Hi, I'm Christine Dinsmore, and I'm from Saugerties, New York.
Christine?
And I happen to have seen John Faso today on the street in front of the library. And actually, beforehand, Andrea, I had a sign for you, because I was holding a sign. I'm not as nice as she is. I had a sign that said, Judas Faso, betrayed by a kiss that crucified our health care. In any event, as I said, I'm not as nice as Andrea, but I asked him explicitly about what you had spoken on Rachel Maddow, and you've just mentioned it a couple of times here about that employer-sponsored insurance. They could go to a state with less.
That's right.
He said that was patently false.
Yeah, no, that's he should read the Wall Street Journal because he disagrees with the Wall Street Journal.
So he said it was patently false. So what do we say to that?
He should read the bill. That would be a good start. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, but I know what he could do. He could come in here and tell you himself. How about that? I mean, I can adopt a district, but I can't get in his brain. So I think that's exactly the kind of question that he should answer. By the way, he should want to do this. He should want to tell you, well, here's why that's not true, or Maloney said this, don't believe him. I mean, that's fine, right? That's called a debate.
He also said that no state will opt out.
Well, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's like that old joke, like the food at that restaurant is... what she said is, he said that no state is going to opt out of the essential health benefits. There won't be any waivers. Which is a little like that old joke where somebody says the food in that restaurant is terrible, but don't worry, the portions are small. Right? if no one's going to opt out, why do you have the waiver? And if they do waive, what he doesn't understand maybe is that there is a rule that pre-exists this bill that says that any employer is not bound by the essential health benefits of their state. They can go to another state. You know why? Because we had a floor in that required essential health benefits and pre-existing conditions be covered in every state. So theoretically, if they wanted to go above that, because another state had different set of requirements that were better than that, a corporation could do that. But think about that. That becomes a monstrosity in a world where you take that floor out. Now they can go to any other state, but those standards can be lower. He's wrong about that, and he should read the Wall Street Journal if he doesn't believe me. Thank you very much. And have you heard about these high-risk pools, by the way? Because that's their bright idea for people with pre-existing conditions. Thank you very much. They don't work. That's right. You know what high-risk pools are? High-risk pools are when you corral the very sickest people into one group, and they all have to get covered the same way. And it reminds me of when we used to take people with mental health issues and say, we're going to put them in that beautiful building up on the hill. We're going to call it a farm, and it's going to look great from a distance. But inside, it's going to be a house of horrors because we're not going to pay for it. And we're going to have people trained right. And we're not going to really care about those people. We're just going to get them out of sight, out of mind. That's your high-risk pool. I got an idea. When we go back to Washington, I'm going to introduce an amendment that every member of Congress who votes for this thing should go in a high-risk pool. How do you think they'll like it? I mean, if it's such a good idea... You know what? Can I do one thing? One thing. I have been incredibly neglectful. Did Aileen Gunther leave? Oh, she's still here. Thank God. Come up here. This is Aileen Gunther, who is a nurse and a member of the Assembly. I love this woman, and she is a great public servant, and she represents Orange and Sullivan counties, so she's adopted a little bit of Ulster tonight, too. So give her a big welcome. Oh, and Kevin Cahill. Is that who that is? Lights are bright. And this is Kevin Cahill, another person who's in the Assembly. Part of the solution. And just because I know how this works, if you're out there and you're holding elective office and you're going to go home mad, raise your hand right now and we're going to recognize you. Who's going home mad? All right, we love all of our public servants who are here tonight. Thank you all very much. I don't mean to leave anybody out. Go right ahead. You're up.
Hi, my name is Kevin, and I work at Vassar Brothers Medical Center in Poughkeepsie for 27 years.
I actually represent Poughkeepsie.
I live in Highland, and my question is, what will happen to the hospitals in the region?
Thank you.
My mom is a survivor of cancer, and I had a transplant of my kidney in '96. And I'm also concerned about the workers at our regional hospitals. So if you can answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Tell me your first name again. Kevin. Kevin, that's a great question. It's one more thing in this healthcare bill. The truth is, one of the great ironies of this bill is that it will hurt rural areas dramatically. It will hurt people who are a little bit older and who are in high-cost healthcare markets. Because unlike the subsidies under Obamacare, the crummier tax credits you get under this bill actually are not adjusted for the cost of healthcare in your area. And often, healthcare costs a lot more in rural areas. And so, in fact, the average income earner in my district, it's probably about the same here, who's about 40 years old, is going to pay $2,000 to $4,000 more with the tax credits than they pay right now with the subsidies. And a big hit is going to happen to these rural hospitals, which is your question. Okay. Because if you talk to anybody who works at HealthQuest or anybody who works on any one of these hospitals, they will tell you that the Affordable Care Act has stabilized them because more people have insurance and they have less uncompensated care. And they get something called disproportionate share payments that are supposed to make up for that. And the Affordable Care Act has really helped our rural hospitals. By the way, it's been a boon for community health care centers, too, which are so important and that do great work. And that will really be scaled back. That Medicaid cut that I'm talking about is a shot below the waterline for rural hospitals. And these are often, by the way, the largest employers in rural areas. So they're not just about healthcare, right? They're about the local economy, particularly in cities like these. You know, it's the education and healthcare industry that is still going in places like Newburgh and Poughkeepsie that I represent. Kingston, I'm sure, the same way up here. And so we should not be weakening those hospitals. And it's just one more example of in this bum's rush to pass a bill. They overlook so many things. And the irony of this is they're doing it to the very people who put Donald Trump in office. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we must not stop reaching out to our brothers and sisters who maybe voted for this guy, but who are going to start understanding what it means if we tell them. So thank you for raising that point. It's very important. And so let's go to the next question.
Hi, my name is Nancy. I'm from Wappingers. I'm here.
Wait, Wappingers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, I represent Wappingers. What are you doing here?
Visiting.
We can do this at home, Nancy.
Okay, but really, I'd like to know.
SEIU, I love you guys.
Thanks. I'd like
SEIU.
to know.
Been very good to me.
Okay.
Great
What
union.
does the cuts to Medicaid mean to New York's patients and the healthcare providers?
Right. Well, we've touched on some of it, but I'll tell you what. Medicaid is not just about people who are less fortunate economically, right? Medicaid, and a lot of you know this, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't know this is how we're fighting the opioid and heroin epidemic right now. You know, I represent Dutchess County and Orange County. We have two of the highest overdose rates in New York. It is a terrible thing. I'm sure it's the same thing here. There's not a community I represent that has not been affected by the heroin epidemic. It's terrible. Well, Medicaid's how we're going to pay for those treatment beds. I have a bill that would allow police officers to bring people directly to treatment. It's called pre-booking diversion. So they're never arrested. They're not booked. They go right to treatment. It's a good idea. But you got to have beds. Right? You've got to be able to put them in a bed and give them real wrap services for a long period of time. Aileen Gunther can tell you about this. Insurance companies need to cover it longer. It needs to be longer treatment up front. Medicaid is the way we're doing that right now under healthcare. So just that one thing. But also, anybody with a kid on the autism spectrum, I told you, Medicaid is a lifeline. Anybody who's caring for an elderly parent in a nursing home, you guys know, you do such great work in nursing homes. These guys are the people who take care of our moms and our grandmas and dads at the end of their lives when they need somebody who loves them and cares for them. We don't need to be squeezing the economics of those really important places where we deliver that care. But there's more, right? I mean, it's about, do you know that Medicaid spends $4 billion in our public schools? We got any teachers here tonight? Love teachers. Love teachers. Medicaid is $4 billion to the public schools every year for kids in school who have medical disabilities, right? So if you think about how many disabled kids are in school, and they deal with a lot of stuff, right? And some of them have medical issues, some of them need care during the day, some of them have oxygen tubes or other things that require some care. $4 billion right now support because they're considered qualified organizations to receive Medicaid reimbursement. So you go whack Medicaid, that means kids with disabilities in our schools aren't going to get the resources they need. So it goes on, right? And all I can tell you, I mean, mental health services, right? So everyone with a disability can include the people with addiction problems, mental health issues, behavioral health issues. You have kids with disabilities. It is not just for people who are less fortunate economically. But by the way, since when is it a good idea to give tax cuts to multimillionaires to screw poor people, right? That would be bad enough. All right. Go ahead.
Hi. My name is Wendy.
It's reverse, Robin.
My name is Wendy, and I'm
Jeanette Clark. Okay. Pef, we love Pef too. Oh wait, we're trending on Twitter. Is that what you said? Number 5? You did that. Is that right? All right, you did that. You did that. I'm telling you, this is gonna catch on.
Just quickly.
Go ahead, right in the mic, ma'am. They won't be able to hear you.
Okay, just quickly. FASO isn't answering questions because we're lost. We're in the weeds of the healthcare, and the Republicans have their MO. This is the first salvo in the war on cutting hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes. This is just the sideline.
Exactly.
Can you
right.
comment that?
Yeah, tell me your name, ma'am.
Wendy.
Wendy, thank you for raising that point, right? So the urgency around this health care bill, a lot of you know this, so let me just explain it to those who don't, was because they really want to get to tax reform. And if you think they're giving tax cuts to the rich in this bill, wait till you see tax reform. I mean, the plan Donald Trump put out, and I hesitate to call it a plan because it was a page, not a plan. And on that page, with about 200 words, with about 7 numbers on it, we know enough to know that they're going to put $7 trillion on the national debt over the next 10 years, with a T. That is 7 times the cost of the Iraq War in the next 10 years, and it all goes to cuts, mostly to the rich. That is not a good idea. We should not be adding to our debt and deficit to give more tax cuts to the wealthy. And this is, you're right, this is setting the stage for that, because they don't want to have to count these tax cuts in that tax cut bill. Right. And they want to save $1 trillion out of Medicaid so they can say, when they give $1 trillion away over there, that it's balanced. Well, that is a shell game, ladies and gentlemen. It is not going to work this time. Trickle down is a joke. The Laffer curve doesn't work. We know better than that. We've been there before. And we should not let them get away with it. And let me just say one more thing. I think you guys got to understand. Donald Trump has got a 4-year term. I know that. Although there's some testimony on the Hill today that may have something to do with that. But I'll tell you what. There are elections every year in this country. There'll be elections somewhere this year. But next year, you're going to have an opportunity to change the whole course of this thing. So it is right around the corner. And if it starts right here, and it spreads to a bunch of other districts like this one, and we put the gavel in Elijah Cummings' hands, we have a Democrat running the House of Representatives instead of Paul Ryan, then we can stop this stuff or we can make it make some sense. It's just one more year. You don't have to do it forever. One more year.
Hi, my name's Maggie. I'm from Stone Ridge. I have 2 pre-existing conditions. I have arthritis that I've had for 27 years, and I'm in end-stage renal disease and on dialysis 3 times a week. So Medicare is my primary right now, but I have secondary insurance. How will my secondary insurance be affected? Will they be able to raise my rates because I have a pre-existing condition? Will they be able to put lifetime limits? I mean, my primary goes through Medicare, which I know is on borrowed time. So, I'm holding out on that for now. But what happens with my secondary insurance?
Tell me your name, ma'am.
Maggie.
Maggie, can I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
How does this all make you feel?
Like my government that I've lived with for 53 years, that my father fought for in World War II, gave up on me. I'm not giving up yet.
Yeah, that's right. You hear what she said? She said, I'm not giving up. Don't give up. That's why you guys got to stay involved. Do it for Maggie, right? Do it for Andrea. You know what? There are millions of Americans who are standing with you. So don't feel alone, number one. And that sacrifice your father made, we're all proud of that. And we will honor our veterans and our military better when we demonstrate the kind of values at home that we fight for all over the world. And it starts with things like this.
Yeah.
We are Americans. We don't pick on the sick and the poor. We're the good guys. At least we used to be. And we ought to be again. And it ought to start right here at home with fighting for the right values in this. I don't know the specific answer on your secondary insurance. I'm almost certain that it'd be the same as your primary insurance. That if they could take away the essential health benefits there, they could do it on your secondary. In other words, it's just another insurance company issuing a policy. So it's just the same issue. We need to make sure that, certainly in places like New York, but really everywhere, that we don't go back. We don't have to go back. We can fix what's wrong with healthcare and move forward together. And
Absolutely.
And what I really want to do, and I really mean this, I don't want to have any more people like Maggie come up to me and say, I'm scared to death, I'm losing sleep over this, I'm worried about it. You have enough to do. We want you to stay well and healthy and focus on the good things in life. I am sorry that your country is doing this to you, but don't give up, because a lot of us are going to fight there with you, okay?
Well, the only thing I know, the only solace I can take is I didn't vote for him, so they can't take that right away from me.
Go ahead.
My name is Anique. I'm from Palinville. First, I want to say thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you coming
You
and
bet. I
standing up
love
for the
this. We
people
should
in
do this more often.
District 19. So I actually called this afternoon and left this message with one of your staffers, so I apologize for asking the same question twice in one day. But since you obviously care about healthcare access, I'm wondering if you might support H.R. 676, Medicare for All. I believe you're one of 5 Democratic holdouts from New York State that haven't signed on for support.
Yeah, thank you for that question. You know, we are looking at that very closely. Everybody knows what she's talking about. She's talking about Medicare for all, so a single payer. Let's ask questions. Good. Look. They like it. They like it.
Just say yes. Just say yes.
Now, hold on. This is a serious question. I really like the idea of Medicare for all. I really do. I have 3 very specific issues with that bill. One is that it enshrines the fee-for-service system, which I don't know is the right way to go. 2, it wraps the VA, or could, into the same system, and I'm not sure that's the way to go for our veterans. And so you think, I know about this. I've thought about this. And third, I'm concerned about the way there's a bunch of under-the-hood stuff around deductibles and copays and everything else. So I'm absolutely looking at this. And I'll tell you what. This works in a lot of countries around the world. Now you have a different set of challenges, right? I mean, with our system, right, we've got cost, which is killing us, right? And we've got coverage issues because not enough people have insurance, so we're going the wrong way on that. And we have, if you can afford it, some of the best researchers, best clinicians, best medicine in the world, right? And in places where you have, no, that's right. But in places where they have this, you trade those challenges for a different set of ones on the quality and the access issues, right, in a timely way. But, hold on, people. I'm telling you, I am very interested in this. And here's the deal. My only concern about this is I'm a guy that is very much in the here and now. We have an incredible fight on our hands to save the gains we have made under the Affordable Care Act. I am not ready to throw that over yet. And so I am focused like a laser beam on fixing what's wrong in the Affordable Care Act, which, by the way, is a huge step forward and came at a terrible price in terms of people we lost who were doing good things in public office, and it has been a long fight. And I am not prepared to give up on it. If we cannot make this work, then I think you will see a lot of us say, well, then that's the only answer. And by the way, I have heard a number of Republicans start saying, have you heard them? Some of these Republicans say, boy, this stuff is complicated. We should just have Medicare for everybody. So I'm open to it. But I do have, with that bill, you're asking me about a specific bill. Yep. There are real problems in that. For one thing, the VA thing alone is a big problem for me. But on the concept, I'm very interested, and I'm absolutely willing to sit down and talk about it.
So are you open to introducing your own Medicare for All bill that addresses the issues you just presented?
Yeah, I'll be happy. Look, that's a great question. Let's go. It's
Do you co-sponsor it?
No, I'm not going to co-sponsor it.
Do it.
But would you introduce your own?
No, I'm not, because I just told you why. Because I don't want to stuff veterans into that same system. You're talking about the Conyers bill. It's a very specific bill. So if you throw at me HR or whatever the heck it is, I'm telling you about. Yeah, I'm telling you exactly about that bill. But I'm absolutely willing to work on my own bill. And I'll tell you what, it's not the way it works. So usually you go to the sponsor and you say, here are my problems with it, and I'm trying to get on it. That's what we're doing right now. That's what a responsible member of Congress does, by the way. But I'm here telling you that I'm not ready because I'm worried about these very real issues in it. Just the fees for service thing, too, by the way, is not the way to go. We want to move to better outcomes for less cost. And we should not abandon the innovations in the Affordable Care Act that are getting us there. There's huge inefficiency in our healthcare system. And one of the ways we're going to get that inefficiency out, right, is to focus on outcomes. And so I just don't want to go back in that sense either. But I love John Conyers, and I see him every day, and we're talking about this right now. And if you want to come down, and come to my office, we'll do this with you. I mean it. We'll do it. We're talking about it right now in my office. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi there. My name is Robin Miller, and I'm from New Paltz. And I think I hit all the markers. I'm a woman of a certain age. I'm 39 and holding perennially. I am self-employed. I work in education and behavioral health, working with autistic young learners who learn differently. And I have my own business, and I've got 2 kids in college. So I'm hitting them all, and it's been a lot of sleepless nights. But what I want to know is multifaceted, and I don't know if you can answer it now, but I'd like you to just think it through. How will this bill, as it currently stands, affect small and individual businesses? And kids with special needs, obviously, because it's my, heartbeat. And the real question that keeps circling in my mind is the Republican Party claims to be the business of full employment. They're supporting businesses. My understanding is small businesses are truly the engine that drives our economy. They are that which hires the most, trains the people, and gets people out there. Why are we being snowballed and nobody is addressing this when I hear them on the Sunday morning talk shows or when they're hitting all the points? Because my understanding is this is going to put me in a horrible position.
Yeah,
I'm of a certain age.
Yeah, just tell me about that. I want to understand that. What are you worried about?
I'm of a certain age. If I cannot insure myself and my family, I will have a difficult time being picked up somewhere else, no matter how educated and how good I am. That's reality. And my clients, the kids that I work with, many of them are, 95% of them are not from families of affluence who can afford the supports without ACA or an equivalent.
Tell me your name again. I don't think you told me your name.
Oh, I'm Robin.
Robin. All right, Robin. Thank you for your question. Look, Robin, I'm going to start repeating myself. Look, for kids with disabilities, Medicaid's a lifeline. So we've covered that. And so thank you for the work you do on that. But it is absolutely essential that we continue that support. My sister has a very serious developmental disability. From birth, my mom and dad had to worry about her and take care of her whole life. She has been more than 50 years now in a group home. And in fact, she's the longest, resident sort of living there in the home. And it's actually a community of group homes. And by the way, I'll tell you what. My mom stayed home and took care of us kids. They had 6 of us, 5 sons, and my sister. My dad sold insurance. He's in the Navy, got banged up. He didn't come for money. They put their 5 sons through college on 1 income, right? And there's not a middle-class family in America who can send 2 kids to college on 1 kid to college on 2 incomes, right? And so many of these costs are harder now than they used to be. And I'll tell you what, that one thing in the Affordable Care Act of keeping your kid on your insurance policy is really important to families. Why? Because kids got all this student loan debt, right? And they can't start a home of their own. They can't go out and form a household. They can't get married. They can't have children of their own. We have a 27-year-old, Randy and I do. I know I don't look nearly old enough for 27. But I do. And one of our 3 kids, and he's living on his own, thank God. We love him, but we don't want to love him in our basement. We want him out living his own life, right? And he is, and that's great. But so many families struggle with this. And so, look, small business, right? There's so many things we ought to do to help small business. The number one thing we can do is grow this economy, right? And the number one thing we can do to grow the economy is invest in our people, invest in our infrastructure, invest in our schools. Start believing in the middle class again. We ought to stop penalizing workers and people who are just trying to have a decent living. And we ought to shore up programs like Medicare and Social Security that people depend on for their retirement. And we ought to make it easier to go to college. College costs too damn much. And I think if we got our economy growing, you'd have a lot more opportunity for small business. On healthcare. Look, a lot of small businesses are going to have different views of this. If you're under 50 employees, you're not under the mandate anyway, right? And so in a way, this isn't going to directly affect you. But if you're talking about being an employee of a small business, is that what you're talking about? You're talking about running one. Yeah, well, that's right. And so there are things in the Affordable Care Act that, by the way, that I'm trying to fix for small business. For example, I wrote legislation called the Mom and Pop Shop Act that would allow, husbands and wives who run a small business to be treated as a small group again. That was changed in the Affordable Care Act. I don't think we should have done that. There's a lot of things we could do in the Affordable Care Act, and we ought to get them back out of the individual market. But I do think if you're talking about the exchanges, I'm on Obamacare. My family and I are on the DC exchange. Do you know that? Members of Congress are actually on the Affordable Care Act. Good, right? But I'll tell you what, we have good health coverage through that, and we can afford it. But I think the number one thing we can do is to make sure that we get everybody who is healthy into these exchanges so that the overall rates can continue to come down. And we have to bring the cost out of the system. And that means the premiums will come down for people with small business who depend on the exchanges to get that coverage. That's the best thing we can do. We've got to make this, and the worst thing we could do is to scrap the whole system, go back to the place where you're on your own, where there's no mandate to cover anybody, even in bigger businesses, and where you're going to have tax credits that don't get you there. That for $3,000 a year, you can't buy anything. That's why you get to 24 million uninsured people. And with all those uninsured people, you're going to have people go to the emergency rooms again, and that's not going to help anybody. So that's a roundabout way of saying I don't think this is good for you or for anybody. All right, listen. So I know we got a bunch of people waiting, so I want to move through. Hold on.
Hi.
All right, it is 8:23. I can't see my watch. All right, here's what I want to do. We've been here a long time. I know people are hot and standing. Here's what I want to do. You guys tell me if this is okay. I'm going to hear from everybody who's standing, right? All right. How many you got? 1, 2, 3, 4. What we got? All right. So come up. You're all going to answer questions. You guys want to get in this too? All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a speed round. I can do this. Come on. Okay. Watch this. You watch. Hey, people who do town hall meetings know how to do them. Hold on. Watch. Tell John Faso about this when he starts doing it. All right. You got to stop there. All right. Come on. Take it easy on me. I got kids. My kids couldn't pick me out of a lineup anyway right now. All right. Are we good? You people? All right. Here's the game we're going to play. All right. The game is called, you give me a one-word question. Okay, 3 words. But I don't mean 3 words like, so I just want to say something about it. I really want to tell you a story from my childhood.
Yeah.
Because we'll never get through it, right? I'm doing everybody, so cut me some slack. And if you just do that, if you just say, hey, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that, just boom, 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 boom. I promise you, I will be under 15 seconds for each one. How about that? And we'll do a speed round. You guys cool with that? Can we do that?
Yep.
All right. I'm trying to get everybody in, but I know how this goes, so
I'm
we're
ready.
going to be quick.
Congress exempting themselves.
Yeah, All right. Congress exempting themselves. She's playing by the rules. Terrible idea. I'll never stand for it. I'm on the exchange like everybody else. They did write the first version and exempted themselves when they got caught. They had to change it. I told you, I think they should all be in a high-risk pool, and we'll see how they like it. Let's go, next one.
I feel so betrayed. I don't know what to do with that, and it's going to be hard to take the high road.
Don't lose hope. Go. I'm playing by the rules. Go.
Can you explain TRICARE insurance and why all Americans can't get that?
You're talking about what's available for military families. Yeah, it's an interesting idea, right? You could, just like Medicare for all, you could do TRICARE for all. It's essentially the same set of issues. I mean, I think it's, I may not understand it as well, but it's for military families, right?
It's for military reservists, their families, veterans.
Right.
They pay $525.20 a year for family coverage.
That's right. I mean, look, it's designed to be for folks who are serving our country in that way, but it's the same issues with Medicare for all.
Okay, Faso, our congressman, knows we're here. But Schumer and Gillibrand will vote against Trump Care. All right, what should we do? Where should we focus our political energy?
Right here. Right here. Right here. Right here. Right here. Right here. You make John Faso accountable for this vote, you will send a message loud and clear. Promise me. Next one.
Yeah. Average income of CD19 is $30,000. 68% is children and elderly. How are they going to be able to afford the health care and get the care that they need?
This woman knocked doors for me for weeks on end, so I'm giving her some break. They're not going to be able to afford it. Twice, that's right. I used to go in the rooms and say, I am the man that beat Ann Hayworth. And then I used to say, I'm the man that beat Ann Hayworth twice. And labor played a big part in those victories. Thank you very much. And I haven't forgotten it. As though you had let me.
Okay, hi. The Senate rewrites a better bill. What does the House do?
Yeah, I'm very worried about this. I'm very worried about them making it a little bit better, getting it through the Senate. For example, they could drop the Planned Parenthood thing, right? And maybe get Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins back on and then send it back over. And I'm very worried about them kind of just feeling the momentum and getting a really bad bill, even if it's not as bad as what's in the House. We need to stop it right now. Keep going.
You mentioned briefly about bringing back the group plans for individual. I'm a psychotherapist in private practice. Obamacare took away the ability to be in a group. Is that going to come back, possibly, if this plan happens?
What I'm talking about, I have a bill that would allow couples, moms and dads, or a couple who they used to be a small group, to be a small group again. Now they can't. Now they have to be on the exchange. That's my bill. I'm working on it, but who's listening to me? Okay. It's not in this bill. It's not in this bill. Well, I know you are. Go ahead.
Insurance company conspiracies. That's all I had was 3 words.
Lock them up.
In states where they're saying they can't get insurance.
We're doing so well. We're doing so well.
No.
We're doing so well.
In states that are saying they can't provide insurance to people, they're saying there's no insurance companies that are willing to do business in Iowa.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm getting at.
Well, no, I know, and there's some games getting played there by the insurers. You're absolutely right. I know what you're talking about. It's just another reason we can fix what's wrong with the Affordable Care Act. Those markets are thin, and there should be more choices. But we have ways to fix that. We don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah.
Okay, so we're fired up and we're ready to go. I can see it.
Good.
It's beautiful. I love it. At your Poughkeepsie High School, you did a town hall meeting.
I did.
Who was that woman that will organize other women to run for office? She was there. You know who she is, I believe. You know.
I'm trying to blank. You talking about the superintendent of school?
No. She introduced it, but you had somebody there who was organizing women to run for office.
I'll find out for you.
Okay.
I'll find out for you.
All right,
I will find out.
Let's get some people.
Yeah, more people run. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good. I'll tell you seriously. Talk to one of my staff. We'll find out. But you know, run to the sound of the guns. Don't wait for me. Go. Run. Get involved.
Hi, I'm Jack. Thank you.
Lisa Sumner, Democratic Committee. Yeah. In Dutchess County. She runs the Democratic Committee.
Hi, I'm Jack. I teach people who are suffering from drug addiction, so I'd like to thank you for your work with that bill.
Thanks.
I'm really concerned. We want unity. We want to change things. We want to win over the Trump supporters. But I am totally outraged that our hero, President Obama, is taking $400,000 to speak about...
Yep. Hey, don't move. No, hold on. One, booing I think violates the 3-word rule, so you're all breaking the rule. But no, wait, you get to boo me. You don't get to boo him.
I didn't finish. $400,000.
Well, you're way over 3 words,
speak
boss, but yeah.
To health.
Yeah, I got it.
Health.
I don't know. You got
health investors.
Yeah, no, you got to ask him. I'm already adopting John Fasso's district. I can't do that. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm from Cooperstown, but still in 19, and my 3 words are. What is the story on annual and lifetime limits?
Yes, thank you for raising that. They would go away in this Republican bill. You would have them, meaning they would come back. What the Affordable Care Act did is said there can't be lifetime limits, there can't be annual limits. And people with very serious health issues can hit their lifetime limits when they're children. I mean, right, this is a really serious issue because that is the difference between, right, having coverage or not. No, we cannot lose that. Thank you for bringing that up. I didn't mention it. Thank you very much. By the way, on that Obamacare speaking fees thing, wouldn't it be great if everybody who is so angry about Hillary Clinton on the Republican Party were as angry about speaking the fees that they get? Have you seen the speaking fees that all those people who criticize Democrats for speaking get? They get them too, by the way. So nobody's paying me, by the way. I've never got a speaking fee, but sounds like a good gig. I don't know. Go ahead.
3 words: high drug costs. 3 more words. Next time. Shovels and pitchforks. Next time.
Wait, what was the last part?
Shovels and pitchforks.
Shovels and pitchforks. All right, hold on. There's always a point where you wish you hadn't gone so long. But I'll just set aside that second part. But listen, we should be negotiating your drug prices in the Medicare program. It's crazy the way the drug companies get away with that. Sign me up. Go ahead. We do it in the VA program, by the way. It works pretty well. Go ahead.
I don't know if you know this. I want to know what the motivation is, because Fasso's not a multimillionaire. So why? What is this? None of them are multimillionaires, and they should have what we have, right?
Obamacare. What is your name?
Charla,
I would be speculating, and I don't know what is in his heart, and I hope he has good reasons. But what I know is neither you or I will know them until he stands here and does this and answers those questions. What I am trying to demonstrate here tonight is that while I can be here answering your questions, it is a poor substitute ultimately for having your own congressman. You get to have your own congressman, and he should be answering those questions. I can't do it for you.
Is there anything good about this that we're missing?
Is there anything good about it?
Yeah. Is there anything here that we're missing that is good? Because I just want to know why.
I mean, look, I think if you look at the primary things in this bill, every single one of them, I think, moves us in the wrong direction. So if you're a billionaire, it's good because you're going to get a huge tax cut. If you are making $2 million, if you make $750,000 a year under this bill, you get a $38,000 tax cut. So that's good. Let me get a show of hands who people are going to get who make $750,000 a year. Right, so I'm not joking. If you look at the taxes that they're reversing, they were ones that were directed to be on people who could afford them under the Affordable Care Act. That's why it's such a windfall for them. So that's the answer. All right, and we are way over our rule. All right, come on, bring us home, man. We're close. Single payer nation, one plan.
Hey, corrupt Democrats with the Wall Street speeches enabled Trump. It was a bait and switch. Bernie would have won by 56 to 44 and swept both houses of Congress. We would not be looking at this mess now. What can be done about corruption in the Democratic Party?
Okay. Hey, settle down. Hey, hey, man, listen. You know, we had that debate all year long last year, and that's cool. I will tell you, I think one of the best things about Trump is it is putting us all together because we got a much bigger problem right now. And so, end corruption wherever you find it. No problem for me. All right, you're going to bring us home?
Hey, Congressman.
Hello.
My name is Andrea Mitchell.
Oh, hi.
My question is, in terms of pre-existing conditions, I have Medicaid currently. How will the new bill actually affect me besides Medicaid cuts? How will my pre-existing condition be affected with Medicaid?
Look, it would depend on the rules that the Medicaid program issues, right? And so one of the problems we have with healthcare is that now that they run the Department of Health and Human Services and the Center for Medicaid Service and Medicaid Service, CMS we call it, so much of that is under the control of the administration, how they set those rules, except for what is set by Congress, right? And so the truth is I don't know the answer to that question. And I don't know whether I don't believe they are specifically touched in this bill. Right, but what happens with Medicaid is a lot of people cycle in and cycle out of it, right? And so the truth is that by capping it, which is what they're going to do, and by rolling back the expansion, they're going to leave a bunch of people out, and that means millions of people, 14 million people. Think about that, 14 million people who are on Medicaid now will not have it, right? Or who will be on Medicaid won't have it under this bill. And all of those people will be back in the private market again and subject to these kind of problems. So part of the problem is your health care ought to be your health care. It ought to be safe and affordable and secure wherever you go, right? And so that's the problem. All right, look, I want to say thank you very much. Has this been fun? One more thing. One more thing. One more thing. One more thing. Let me know how it's going with my friend John Faso. And I'll make you a promise. I'll make you a promise. I'll make you a promise. As long as he keeps dodging town hall meetings, I'll keep coming back. How about that? Thank you all very much.